And welcome everybody to the Jeremy Womack Show. Today we have Mr. Robert Lambson on the show with us, and he's from Speedy Car Loans. He is a broker, or the Speedy Car Loans is a broker, and basically they go out and find your car for you and get the financing for you, as opposed to the arduous task of going down to a dealership and walking the lot and having somebody come up to you and give you some song and dance about the way that you need to buy your car. It doesn't work that way out here with Speedy Car Loans, and I have my own personal experience that we'll discuss in the show, and what makes Speedy Car Loans different than any other way to buy your car. But I met Robert through my friend Jessica, and I really was in need of a car desperately, and I had a job. I just, with the recession and everything, my credit wasn't the best. I wasn't, the ideal client for typical banks, and so I kind of reached out, and she's like, "Yeah, you pretty much can get anyone financed. Make sure you got a job, numero uno." But I said, "Okay, cool," and I went down and got into a car that suited my needs at the moment, and worked on that for about a year, paying it off. Made a payment every 2 weeks, and after that year, I came back to him and said, "Hey, can we step this up?" And he's like, "Sure." So I go from what was an '05 Dodge Magnum, I think it was.
Yeah, I think you had a Dodge Magnum for your photography business.
Yeah, photography, so I could load all my equipment in the back, and it worked out well for me. And then I said, this car I really have been dreaming about, basically, this Dodge Challenger. I see it everywhere. I said, it might be, far-fetched in a thought, but hey, what do you think? Can you look into it? And he looks into it, and that's what I drive around these days is my 2012 white Dodge Challenger. It's awesome. So without further ado, Mr. Robert Lambson, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. So tell everybody, I gave a little bit of a lead into what makes you unique, but what's the first point that you would say that makes you the place to go to, especially if they've gone to other places and just not had any success?
We have a facet where we really take care of everyone's automotive needs and loans. What we're a little bit different in is I used to own a dealership here in town, Dodge Lines USA.
Right.
And when you're on the inside and you look out and you see all the struggles that you go through as well as what the customers are going through, I just formulated this way that I wanted to do business. And I kind of like to relate it to more we're the Amazon.com of the car industry.
Sure.
Instead of carrying millions of dollars of inventory of cars that you may not even want.
Right.
What we like to do is give you a little more hands-on approach and tailor the car exactly to you and tailor the loan needs right to you. So
a client comes to you and says, "This is the car I've always wanted," and then you're like, "Okay, let's break down what you have and as far as credit goes and down payment and things like that, and see what we can get you approved for first."
Exactly.
And then I will tell you, I will try to go after what it is that you want, but here are some other options maybe that you might be interested in as well. But pretty much you want to go after what they are looking for. That's the main goal.
Well, everybody's always happy you're getting what they want.
Sure,
no doubt.
sure.
And we know with credit challenges nowadays that's not always going to be the case. But generally speaking, most of the time we can make it happen. Especially what happens to most people is when they go into dealerships and they start looking around, they look at cars that maybe aren't reasonable for what their credit challenges are
Sure.
facing, and they get put in the wrong car, they get put in the wrong down
I've
payment.
had it happen.
They get put in the wrong credit situations, and that's not what works best. So nothing against dealers or salespeople. They serve a purpose, but what you find out is most salespeople aren't in tune to credit needs.
Sure.
So what we do is we just flip the approach around more like a home. And instead of people driving around and finding out what home they want to buy, negotiating the price and moving in,
Sure.
then getting the loan,
Right.
we do it the other way. We get the loan done all first, and that way you have every detail, every need, the rate, the down payment, the payments that you're going to qualify for, what down payment you might need, and then we just find the car that matches your wants and needs, but make sure the bank's happy too.
Well, I'll give a bit of my own personal experience with a car dealership. They were here in Vegas, and back in what was it? I turned 21, and I always wanted a Pontiac Trans Am. It was just my dream car at the time.
Does that be the Burt Reynolds edition?
No. This was the '95 that I got. I know someone that has a Burt Reynolds edition. His name is Mr. Brandon Powers. He's got one of those.
I thought that's you're growing a beard for it. You can get the complete look.
I should, and then I'll drive around really fast and have cops chasing me. So I really wanted this car. I saw it driving on the road. Had to wing on the back and all that. And so I got that car. Well, flash forward to around 1999, I was in a relationship and I thought, okay, it's time to settle down. Dummy me. I had a car that was paid, a car that was paid off. Used that car as a down payment to get an Oldsmobile Bravada, which it was the top of the line one. It was nice. It was, if you don't know, it's like a Chevrolet Jimmy kind of.
Yeah, little SUV.
Yeah, and it was wood grain, all that stuff inside. And then a few months after that, I was no longer in a relationship. So I didn't have my dream car anymore. I had this Oldsmobile Bravada, which I was paying 600 and something a month because it was my first car. But I was thinking in the mindset of, hey, I have no credit. This would be a great way to build it. And I'm a first-time buyer, so, okay, I understand that I'm going to have a high payment. Again, I was young at the time, probably didn't, I was green or wet behind the ears, and no one, they go, oh, this is a newbie, let's take advantage. But anyway, so flash forward again, here in Vegas, and I have a decent job, and I'm making some money, and I said, you know what? I want my Trans Am again. And 2001, I think, was the last year they made them. I think that was
pretty close, yeah.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to go get that. And I'm upside down. If you don't know what that means, I owe more money on my Oldsmobile Bravada than it's worth. But I
think that would have been the case on any Oldsmobile.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was when the brand was going away, and you're like, oh, I've got this brand that no one can do anything for anymore. And so I go to this dealership. I said, look, I have this vehicle. I want to get the 2001 Trans Am. I know it's the last year. That's what I want. They're like, great. So I went from having a $630 payment, getting this new Trans Am because they had to take what was the difference, put it into my loan for the Trans Am because they took it over, and that made my payment go to $750 a month. My insurance was $250 a month.
So you had a house payment there for
I had a house
Am.
payment just for a car. And here's the kicker. 4,000 miles later, I got T-boned over by what used to be the Las Vegas Bells Mall, which, and it cracked the frame, and they had to, what was that called?
Total it out?
Total it out. And I started fresh again. So silver lining to that is I got rid of my Oldsmobile Bravada and my $750 payment and then started over again. But
thank God for gap insurance.
I know. Well, I didn't have that on.
Oh, you got lucky.
And so that story was because, and how that happened is I go in and they say, yeah, you got the car. Here you go. I said, great. I take a drive out to L.A. immediately. I'm like, I'm going to break this thing in. I go out to L.A., and I come back, and about 3 days later, they're like, oh, hey, you've got to come back in. You didn't fully qualify, so we need to rework your loan. That's what they do. They get you. That's what the whole, test drive is for. They get you to drive and...
Jeremy, what most people don't know is the laws in Nevada state that a dealer can deliver you the car and sign you on a contract that does disclose price and interest rate.
Right.
But they're not tied into that. It says down in the fine print,
in the very fine
print, in the very fine print on the back,
Uh-huh.
that they have the right to try to place the loan with the bank, and if they don't place it, they can either have you bring the car back or they can modify your loan at your request. So a lot of people sign the contract, they leave, they go home, they show the car to their family and friends, they drive to LA like you did.
Right.
They take some pride of ownership.
Sure.
And then when they get the call, they're a little more amicable in terms of like the salesperson would look at being able to modify that loan, put more down, find a cosigner, go ahead and raise my payment.
Because they're excited about this car.
Excited about the car, and they've shown it to everyone already.
Sure.
So it is a tactic that is legal, unfortunately, and a lot of people do, but it's not, doesn't make you feel good.
No.
And, buying a car, it should feel good.
Sure.
I mean, Americans love cars. You loved your Trans Am. You love your new Challenger.
I do.
It's exciting. It feels good. Probably even loved your Oldsmobile Bravada there for a little while.
At the time, yeah.
And so what we do is we just take and reverse it. We just do everything up front with the loan so that when you leave in your car, that call will never be made to you. You're never going to get a call that says, come back and let's rework your loan.
Right. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
And the great thing about what Robert does is that he'll find car. Let's just say that you're like, I want this. He's like, listen, I know that you love that car, but we can't get you in that. But here's something comparable that we can get you into. Hang out for a year, and then we'll get you into something that you really want. And but the cars that he finds are great cars. He checks them out. They have what could be considered low miles. I mean, you don't take any that have over a certain amount, right?
Generally, what we find is when you're getting a loan on a car, most banks prefer to have the car to have fairly low miles. They really don't want a loan on cars that have 100,000 miles. So
Right.
the customer's already going into a challenge, and now you've got a payment and now a breakdown. So we really try to find cars with lower miles that are going to be good enough quality to get you through that loan experience, especially for anyone just building their credit. They don't need the challenges of repairs on top of it.
That repair comes, you're just like, great. Now I can't even drive this car around anymore. But you find that in well-built cars, and you make sure that they're that, and that in turn makes you look better because you are. It's the old adage: you provide a good service. You don't do any advertising. You do word of mouth.
Yep.
I mean, that's how it happens.
Yeah, we don't do any advertising at all. This is going to be kind of the most I've ever done is just sitting here with you, and we're really not advertising, just sharing a friend's story.
Sure.
But we don't do any advertising. Everything's word of mouth, repeat business, and people find us on the internet.
Right.
But here's something, Jeremy, I want to share with you that's really interesting to me that I would have never guessed when we started this. You were talking a lot about credit challenges.
Sure.
But we really do just as many loans for 800 scores as we do for 400 scores.
Okay.
People love the fact that they can just call in or email us in their application. We tell them, hey, great, your 2.9 loan's done, and here's your Mercedes-Benz, and come pick it up. And
Sure.
it's just recently had director of one of the hospitals contact me. You know, he's an excellent credit guy. He makes $500,000 a year. He had a free and clear Aston Martin he wanted to trade in and wanted to put his wife in a new GL 450 and just literally easily make a call. And 3 days later, his GL was sitting there. And
Wow.
there's no hassle. There's no negotiating. It's just, you know, we email each other back and forth. And I didn't even meet him for the first time until he was picking up his car.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, for my own experience, it was a credit issue, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's only people that have credit issues that he helps. He helps anybody. And what is awesome about the experience is just what you said. People will say what they're interested in getting. Can you get that? Let's work on it. Yes, I can. And deal done. It's not. It's a weird process. The whole car buying experience, because I'm sure many people have gone through it. You go in there, you get excited about it, then you sit at a table and negotiate back and forth with someone for 4 hours. You're like, why is this the process?
You know, the biggest problem at dealerships is there's too many fingers in the pie.
Right.
So, you know, you start with a salesman that, you know, hopefully can demonstrate the car adequately.
Sure.
And hopefully can find you a car you like. And then the process goes to the negotiating, but you're not dealing with the person that has the bottom line say. So he's going back and forth. And then he's getting a used car manager to appraise your trade, and he's getting a finance manager to look at your loan, and he's getting a general sales manager to approve the deal. And 3-4 hours later, you hope you made a good deal, and you don't know because you're beat down and you're tired. Where, you know, how much easier is it when you can just do it all over the internet?
Right.
You can call me, email me, tell me what you want. I'll send you back the pictures, the Carfax, the condition reports, all the information you want on the car to make a good decision. Pictures, you pick out and say, that's the one. Here's the numbers. You like them? Great. And the car's sitting there and you come pick it up.
Right.
I would say the process, once you show up to the office, the process is 10, 15 minutes and you're in your new car.
Wow. Well, I remember when the process, too, when I first started it was basically I said, hey, I've got this particular idea in mind of a vehicle that I want. And you're like, well, okay, let's see what we can do. And then you're like, well, maybe, but what about these other options? And these might work for you as well. I didn't feel like you were trying to dissuade me from what my original idea was, but I hadn't thought of the things that you had said. I had never even thought of a Dodge Magnum. But you're like, listen, here's what you told me that you need the car for. You need it for these things, and you want something that's going to be decent mileage and gas, and you want room to put all your photography equipment, and this will work out well. And it did for an entire year. I didn't look at it like I had cars in the past of, God, that car salesman. Yeah, it was a good looking car. I had no qualms with it, but I never once had the idea of that car salesman got something on me, which I felt almost every day when I was driving the Trans Am. It's like, yes, I love this car, but God, this is $750. I never felt like that with this. It's like, you know what? I didn't think about it, and he brought it to my attention, and that made me go, yeah, you know what? That was the best choice. So I appreciate that.
A lot of people know what their needs are, but they don't necessarily know a model. They might say, hey, I'm trying to haul kids, or I'm trying to haul photography equipment, or I need certain gas mileage requirements, or I need a 4-door, and a lot of times
Or I
we
got an
can make
overweight
what-
wife.
George Carson adding his 2 cents.
right? I need something that can haul a heavy load. But we get that, you know. And
She
so,
doesn't want to sit in the bed of the truck. Come on, anymore. We want her.
what's the tow capacity on this truck?
Oh, jeez.
So, you know, we a lot of times we can give suggestions when
Mm-hmm.
people necessarily don't want, and a lot of times people don't know this. Banks look at their repossession losses based on the model of car.
Right.
And sometimes if a model of car
Grab your phone there.
is not looking good,
Uh-huh.
then certain banks, if they see high losses on, I don't know, Fords or Dodges, not to pick any name brand, they'll start generating lists what they call their hot cars.
Okay.
And a lot of times people don't know this, but if I can put them in a hot car, maybe a hot car's a Honda or a Nissan.
Right.
The bank actually gives reduced fees, reduced rates
Wow.
to go into that car. So those are all the things that we know on the inside that we try to share with the consumer if they come with us a generic and saying, hey, this is just kind of my needs, help me fit it.
Sure.
And we do that as well. We might send you 10, 15 ideas and say, hey, here's your loan on what you said. Here's your loan on the Dodge you wanted. But by the way, here's your loan on a Nissan.
Right.
Because it's a hot car. What do you think? And then
Sure.
they go, oh, I'd never known.
I would have never thought that. And that happened also. I don't know if it was so much the hot car, but with the Challenger that I got, I was kind of going in there going, no, I want this. I want an RT. And he's like, listen, okay, here's the deal. You're going to be paying through the nose for this thing. And then he described the engine that I have in my vehicle. And he said, you have plenty of power, which is the exact power that I had in my Trans Am, which is a 305 horsepower. He says, you're going to have it in a V6. It's this new engine that they've come up with, and great gas mileage.
Well, I think with you, actually, if I remember, there was a promotion on
There was a
brand
promotion.
spanking new
That's
ones.
true, I remember that.
Instead of looking at a 1 or 2 year old one, and it actually reduced the interest rate
Yep.
like 5 points for a brand new car. So we were able to put you in a brand spanking new one for a lower payment than a 1 or 2 year old one would have been.
I thought I was going to get that 2011, 2010.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, if you get a brand new one, you can get it for this cheaper price. You're like, what? I said, can you repeat that, please? Because I think you just said I could get a brand new car for cheaper than I
Yeah.
might get the older one. He's like, yeah, they're having a promotion. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is fantastic.
And that's the stuff that should be shared with the client.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of time is not. Because a dealer, here's what happens. When you have inventory, you want to sell your inventory.
Sure.
So, you know, the sales manager comes out and has a sales meeting and tells the salesman, hey, if you sell these 5 cars that are getting old, you get extra promotion. So where does the customer get funneled?
Sure, to the ones that they want to
To
make
the
more
ones
money
they
on.
want to sell and not the ones you want. That's
Right.
We don't carry any inventory at all.
Right.
Another big thing is when a dealer sets that inventory out there, it costs them a lot of money. I
Right.
mean, it's a huge amount of dollars tied up in that. And so it raises the cost up. That's another huge advantage that we need to talk about is when you go to get a loan on an automobile, whether you have 800 credit score or 400 credit score, there's a big thing called LTV, loan to value.
Sure.
So the bank looks at the value of the car they're loaning against.
Right.
And they look at the price you're paying for it and how much down. And the lower that value is to what you're borrowing, the better loan you're going to get.
Right.
Well, if a dealer has to mark it up because of the cost of inventory, the cost of the big building, the cost to pay the salesman, the cost to advertise, the cost to pay the finance manager, you're paying more for the car.
Right.
That means you're borrowing more for the car.
True.
And you're going to get a higher rate.
And you're paying more for the vehicle on not what the actual vehicle value is.
Right.
It's whatever they've put in there to sell the car to you.
Exactly. And they have to cover their costs.
Sure. And it's a business. So
It is a business.
You do know that. So, you know, there's that. I guess there's that plus side where, okay, here is a dealership that we have, and it's a big parking lot with a bunch of cars, and you can go in there and go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I want that one, and you can drive off that day with it. So there's that advantage of you get that feeling to buy right then,
Yeah.
as opposed to your situation where you don't have inventory, but what I can clearly say about it is that I liked the experience much better because I didn't feel pressured. There was no like haggling type thing. It was just, here's what you can do. Here's what we've got. What do you want to do? And I'm sure some will say, hey, you know, that's not exactly what I want. And you're like, hey, well, just come find us when you do want a car. It's not like you feel the need to sell them right then and there, or they're a lost cause.
No, generally, you know, I would say from the time someone gets a hold of us, whether it's a phone call or an email, to the time we deliver the cars, generally somewhere around 3 to 7 days if they want to move forward. And I can tell you how many times people come to us and they start understanding their credit because we explain it to them, and they may wait, and they do come back. They
Right.
come back because they don't feel that pressure.
Right.
Something else that I just want to mention that's really important, what's
Sure.
going on around the country, especially Las Vegas, is bankruptcy filings.
Okay.
Bankruptcy, there's two types of filings. So it's called a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13. And this is
Right.
a real point I want to share with everyone. If you're going through a Chapter 13, I don't know of a dealer that will work with you.
Wow. Okay.
Because what has to happen is you have to get permission from your trustee to borrow money.
Sure.
That process takes about 60 days to 90 days.
Wow.
I'm not aware of any salesman that'll start helping you and wait around for 90 days. But
true.
you need the dealer's help because they have to submit purchase orders and buyer's agreements to the judge so they can approve it. So I just want to let everybody know, if you are involved in a 13, please see us. It's something we do regularly. We're really good at it.
And being like what you had brought up is that if you were to go to some random car dealership and you had that there, they basically like shut you away. And I mean, they might, but with Robert, he's like, listen, just this is going to take some time and there's a process involved. We're more than happy to help you work through that process, and we'll be with you the whole time. It just takes time, just so you know.
You know, when a salesman's on commission, he doesn't want to waste a couple hours with you when he's not even going to see you back for 90 days.
Right.
So
he's like, oh, and because then in their mind is like, well, they might not even come back.
Right.
And you're like, well, you know, because of the word of mouth mindset that we have, we're going to treat our clients the best we can, because maybe we couldn't help them directly, but they're going to tell someone, say, listen, don't go that route. I may have not gotten a car, but these guys were awesome because they went out of their way to help me when they didn't have to.
yeah, no,
And that's a
absolutely.
service.
You know, you have to take care of people. That's
Right.
really what it comes down to, and you know that. And the better you treat people, the better referral and repeat business you're going to get. That's just the bottom line, is treating people right.
Right. And you've grown, because I remember when I first saw you, it was a small little office,
Yeah.
and now you've got this nice little building, which is, you're close to, I think, one of your friends that runs a car repair and oil changes and stuff.
Yeah, we
and-
were able to negotiate a really great deal with a mechanic shop, and where not only do they service all of our automobiles for us before we deliver them, because we make sure everything's just perfect on the car.
Sure.
But they extend their services to all our clients at our cost, so our customers get great service if they want to come back and service the car. So it really is almost like a full dealer experience.
It is.
Without the extra cost.
Without the hassle, that's for
No
sure.
hassles, no extra charges.
The hassles is, like you said, it should be this great experience. Your car, especially if you go to work every day, and it's something that you drive every day. And just think about it. Do you want to get into this car and think, crap, you know, I feel bad every day. I enjoy driving it, but then I remember the experience I had to get the vehicle. And it's pretty frustrating. That's for sure.
Yeah, it really is. And going back, whether you have good or bad credit, sometimes the dealership experience is not the greatest. It's a little frustrating.
That whole 4-hour waiting period is, I mean, it's not set in stone that it's 4 hours, but it's a pretty lengthy process. I remember I went in to go get a Toyota Tacoma, and I sat there, and I told the guy specifically, I said, I'm not paying any more than this amount per month, and this is what I'm putting down. There you go. Run with it. The guy came back 6 times, 6 times, offering me, well, we can't do this. I said,
That was an easy day.
Well, right, I know. It sometimes can be 10, and you got kids with you and all that. But I was trying to make it as simple as possible. I said, listen, I want this, but this is my budget, and this is what I have right now. And then he kept going, but you have that. I had a Jeep Wrangler, which was paid off. That's what I drove in, but I was getting the truck for another business that I had. And he said, well, but you've got your Jeep out there. It's paid off. You can use that as down payment. I said, I'm not using my Jeep as my down payment. I said, I have this cash, and that's my down payment. It was it was like $3,000, something like that. And I said, I'm paying this month. And like I said, 6 times came back. Finally, on that 6th time, I said, okay, if you can't do this, I'm leaving. And he's like, hold on. And then he got the deal like right under what I was asking for. And I even came because I thought that this was an issue, but you could answer this question for me. They want to move inventory at the end of the year to kind of clear the books a bit, I would think.
End of the year, you bet.
Yeah. So I even came in on, it was like December 20th or something like that. I said, I'm at the end of the year too, man. I'm trying to get stuff off your books, and you're really giving me a hassle here. So I eventually got it for what I wanted, but it still took, even though I had a good down
Jeremy,
payment and all that.
It's not that the salesman or the manager thought you were stupid. It's just if you were, they didn't want to miss you.
That's a good way to put it. They're like, there's a possibility he might be dumb. Let's just check that out. Okay, and the sixth time we've figured out he's not dumb. Let's just go with it.
Right.
So, geez, it's a frustrating experience. So
It really is. It really is. And, you know, we're new to the way a lot of people struggle with the concept of purchasing a car without seeing it. The one thing I want to let everybody know is we don't have anybody sign anything or purchase a car before they see it.
Right.
We come to all the agreement on the numbers. We come to the agreement on the car. We make sure everything's to their liking. And the final step is them seeing it. And we take all the risk. We buy the car, bring it in, and set it there for you based on your word. And all of our business is by your word. If you say you want the car, I get it there and set it for you. We never sign a contract until that car is sitting there and you're happy.
He has it already. He's paid for it, sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah.
It's all clean. It's all ready to go. And then you go, yeah, that's what I want to do. And
in 5 years, I can tell you, people are trustworthy.
right.
In 5 years, I've had maybe 2 clients that did not buy the car. And it was nothing had to do with the car, maybe changes in their life or circumstances. And you know what? You chalk that up and move on. But I can
your
tell
percentage,
you,
yeah.
in 5 years, that's it.
Wow.
I mean, and we just make sure that when we buy the car, there's no reason they're going to say no. We're not trying to hide a bad repair or a wrecked car or anything like that. We're just going to make sure that the car is everything you would want it to be.
Right. They're not getting in and seeing that, oh, the outside looks fantastic and there's rips in the whatever.
Well, here's the thing. It's the investment is mine.
Sure.
I'm putting up the money to buy your car and bring it into you. Believe me, I'm going to make sure you're not going to say no.
That's true.
I'm not some salesman that has no investment in the car or doesn't care if it was wrecked or it's just some old aged inventory. We're going out there, we're taking the money, buying this car and setting it there for you based on your word. You're trusting us, we're trusting you. So,
and you're going to have a good car because should they say no, which has only been 2 in the last 5 years, but should that happen, you now have the car that you have to deal with.
I get to be stuck with it and either sell it back or, you know, wholesale it or retail it. But, yeah, we don't have any problems with that.
One of the coolest things is, you know, father and son business. Your son's involved with it as well.
I did bring my son on 3 years ago to work with us.
And it's not a small office, but small as far as people go. So it makes it really personal. And then Robert handles all the loans, or?
Yeah, I do all the loans and actually all the car buying. My son Casey is my assistant, and then I have an office manager. And we actually occasionally bring other people in as the business requires that are knowledgeable. But most of the time what Casey does is he'll help me collect all the information I need from the client, information on their trades, maybe even take down some information of what they're looking for. So that kind of helps me transition and get it ready to go.
Right.
And just kind of handles all that ancillary work, so that when I get to the client, I can give them 100% attention.
You've got all the information you need.
I've got everything, yeah.
And you can pull that trigger.
Yeah.
It's helpful to have that. I wanted to give you guys a quick little note. Go to the JeremyWomackShow.com. You can see a profile of Robert there, and there are links to Speedy Car Loans. There's also my own personal experience that I had with it. I posted on Facebook, and it just got a ton of people that liked it, and it just was kind of feel good. I know I was opening myself up. I'm like, okay, here's what happened to me. I owned a house and all this, and then everything went and just taken away.
We all got hit by this recession, whether it was directly with credit or houses. I mean, we all took a hit. And no one should ever be embarrassed about what happened during that time. There's no reason, and there's no reason you can't have a car that you like or want.
Right.
And we just found a little, maybe what I believe is a better way to do it. You know, 20 years ago, nobody would ever said you could buy everything you want off of Amazon. I do more shopping on Amazon than I do at the mall now.
You're like, I just want you to ship it to my house.
You know,
I've got Prime and it's free, so just ship it to me.
Exactly. And that's kind of how we wanted to model this is, hey, we just want you to call us or email us. Tell us what you want, what you're trying to accomplish, and it's just going to be sitting there for you.
Right.
And no hassle, no haggle. And that's really what we want to accomplish.
It's such a refreshing experience. And you would think that you'd have more people doing that, but I mean, in my eyes and a lot of my friends' eyes, you're the only one in the game, really.
Well, there's a lot of reasons that they can't do it.
Okay.
There's a ton of banks and finance companies and credit unions that will not do business with certain dealers based on their dealer licensing.
Okay.
And they're just restricted. Plus, as a consumer, if you and I walk in, there's a ton of banks and finance companies out there that you don't have access to. I mean, there's B of A, there's Wells, but there's literally hundreds of companies. For example, and I'll give one name, Capital One Auto Finance is a company that there's no outlets, there's no building to go into.
Right.
You can apply online, but then they only let you participate at certain dealers or certain franchises. So we have access to all those. 25 years in town, Jeremy, doing this, and I've
a lot of people.
Collected all the banks and credit unions and finance companies that do business. We're over 37 now.
Wow.
So we just have that ability to do stuff that most people could never put together.
Right, and you know the ones to deal with that'll deal with that.
Exactly.
Another thing that I don't really appreciate about the car buying process when you go to a dealership is that you'll get your credit dinged like 15 times. And, you don't think anything about it,
Right.
but, the credit bureaus look at that and go, oh, well, all of these 14 other ones said no, and this one finally said yes. And I can recall I maybe had two from when I went with you, and that was just you thought probably this one was the best one, and maybe it didn't work, and you're like, I know this one for sure will do it, and it did, and I didn't have 15. There's two inquiries on my credit report,
Right.
and that is a sounds like something small, but I think it's big because that's like I said, the credit bureaus look at that when they're giving you a score of. Well, we're going to now reduce your score. It's going to take several months for those inquiries to fall off.
Everybody wants to look at your credit, but then they tell you, oh, you had your credit looked at too much.
Yeah, it's the strangest concept. I have somebody looking at my credit. Yeah, but that was way too much. And they won't tell you maybe what the limit is. This is how many should be looking. So
Well, here's what happens is you have a salesman that takes your credit app.
Mm-hmm.
He runs up to the sales manager, who's probably very good at knowledgeable about selling cars.
Sure.
He runs your credit, and he tries to make a credit decision based on the car they want to put you in, not the one you want.
of course,
And then, of course, what he's seeing, the problem is he's not a credit expert.
Right.
He's a sales manager.
Right.
So he literally, and this is because I did it,
right,
he guesses at the interest rate. He guesses on how much down to try to tell you. He guesses on what your car's worth. And they put this formulated guess together, talk you into signing it, and then they throw it on some finance manager's desk who has 80 other packages that day to
Sure,
go
sure.
through. And so what does the finance manager do? Him and his secretary just send it to as many banks as they can.
sure,
And, the old blind hog gets the acorn
Yeah.
kind of scenarios, what
Right.
they do, and they run up your inquiries. And so this finance manager is now just trying to get your loan off his desk.
Right.
Because he's got the general sales manager screaming at him that it's taking him too long.
you're taking too long.
And
Just
so, we can just avoid all that.
And it would seem logical for them to do that, but that's not their interest.
No.
Their interest is we want them in these cars, and that's what It's like you go to a restaurant and these are the specials for the day because we got to move this food out of the walk-in.
The
And that's
tuna's
why
getting old.
The tuna's getting old. Let's sell this stuff, and you're like, oh, it's a special, and I have just saved $15 off the meal. Yeah, it's on its last leg, but but the whole thing, it's similar. I'll akin it to what we do here at All Talk is that people will come in here thinking it's one way of because they experience what maybe radio or television might be somewhere else, and we're like, no, you have to think outside the box. This is completely different, and the way that we approach it and what you are offered from it. So it's similar to what you're doing. You're saying, don't think of us as the typical car dealership because that's not what we are. We're a broker, and we basically work for you as opposed to, the other way
Serving
around.
our own interests.
Right.
We don't sell a car unless we serve your interests.
Right.
Which you would think that's the case of a dealership, but they're really trying to serve their internal interests, and they are a business. And again, I don't ever want to put a dealer down. They serve they do a great need
Sure,
for our community.
sure.
A lot of people still, even whether it's clothing or cars, they still want to go touch, feel, smell, and take it home that day. They go
Right.
to the mall, they want to see the special, but some people are good doing off Amazon, and
Right.
some people are good ordering off the internet. What we want to do is just let people know there's an alternative.
You-
And if you don't like the dealer experience, there's an alternative. Try it.
You mentioned that the Amazon experience. My roommate Wendy is similar to that. I mean,
Love Wendy.
She's awesome. Stuff will come to the house all the time. I'm like, I guess you got another box in the mail, but that's how she is. She's like, I don't need I know what I want, and I know I can order it here, and then they're gonna send it to me. I don't need to go to Best Buy or whatever. Or it doesn't even have to be them. It could just be any clothing store or whatever. She goes, I know my size. I know what to wear. Just send it to me.
Right.
And there's a large amount of the population that thinks that way. And yes, it's kind of nice to have that touchy-feely, smelly type of thing. But I think the game is really changing in that. And if some of these people don't jump on board, it's
The game is definitely changing, and here's the Amazons. I think their satisfaction levels well into the 90s.
sure.
And I got to tell you, I hope this doesn't come off egotistical or narcissistic, but ours is probably at 99%.
It has to be.
Because people there's just nothing to complain about. And there's not a salesman pressuring you. There's never pressure. Most of the time, I don't meet my clients, Jeremy, until I'm handing them the keys to their car.
Right.
They're coming in. They said, "Hey, we found you on the internet," or "So and so knows you," or "So and so referred us." Great. And we just start the process over the phone. We get to know you that way. We start the process over the internet, and 2 or 3 days later, you come and pick up your car.
I've referred several people to Robert, and I know of at least three. Wendy mentioning, and my buddy Edgar, who's coming in on Friday, and my friend Bari.
Yeah.
I welcome everybody out there. If you want to do this, just tell them that Jeremy sent you, and he'll work some special magic for you. I don't know.
And Bari came from California, and we do
Yeah.
a lot of business outside of Nevada. We can handle any state. Matter of fact, we're going to put up a map in our office and showing the states that we've been in, because we've literally delivered cars into New York,
Wow.
Florida, Georgia, of course, all over California,
Sure.
Arizona. Matter of fact, a family member of mine, a cousin, called me and needed a car, and we delivered it Christmas Eve.
Wow.
In Phoenix.
That's cool.
To make sure his wife got her Christmas present. You know, we drove it down and flew
Put a
back,
ribbon on
so-
it and
Oh
everything?
yeah, the whole
Of
bit.
course. Awesome.
So, you know, we can go anywhere and do anything. We're good in all the states, so it doesn't matter where you're located.
And it's perfect for my show, and being on Alltalk is that you can hear this anywhere. So the website to go to is www.speedycarloans.com. It's really easy. Once you land on the page, you can fill out the information there. Again, if there's a referral section, if you want to put my name in there and that you heard it, feel free. But it's a simple process, and you put in your information, and they give you a call back or
Yep.
an email back, and start the process. And like you said, you could be in New York, you could be in Florida. Service all different types of people in different states.
Absolutely. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Do you have any well, yeah, you have to be everywhere these days. That's
Tumblr,
for sure. Tumblr,
Google
and-
Plus.
Yes. Look at this picture. Well, that's one of the cool things about. And you would think that every car dealership would do this, but they don't. Robert will take a picture of the car, and it's advantageous for Robert to do that because he can post it and say, look, I got another successful deal done. But it's kind of cool because I got a little bit bent about that my car wasn't on his Facebook page. I'm like, what's up, man? My
That's
car's not
right.
there. And I'm like, he said, oh, sorry, man. Hold. And then he put it up. But it's like this little added bonus that you're like, look, this cool car we got for this person, and then it's on their Facebook page, and you kind of feel like, yeah, that's my car.
Well, what's really fun is, we're a social media society now, and
Right.
Especially with Instagram. It's so funny because I'll go in and tag people or their ats, and we'll get a whole conversation going on the cars or where they got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. So it just really creates that little social media community, and
Right.
it kind of creates like a little family environment. It's a lot of fun.
It does.
We have fun with it.
You make it so that, again, when the deal is done, like you're here right now, and the first deal I did with you was 09, I think.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
About 09, because I got the Challenger in 2010.
Right.
So, wow, it's been that long. I didn't know I've been driving around that long.
Yeah, a couple of years now.
A couple of years now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're here right now because we're still friends.
Yeah.
You know?
As it should be.
Yeah, I have no animosity.
You still like
at
your
all.
car dealer.
I still like my car dealer, and when I'm ready to go get another one, it would be right back to you. Wendy says the same thing. She can shop other places, but at the end of the day, she's like, you know what? I'm still going to go to Robert because I liked that experience.
Yeah, Wendy's great, and we really try to make it an enjoyable experience. And we keep it fun.
Right.
There's nothing ever too serious going on.
No.
And we want to make sure you're having a great
If you
time.
follow Robert on Facebook, you will see all the fun that he has. He
Oh,
cracks jokes and
all day long.
and that if only that kind of experience could be with a real estate agent,
Right.
because it seems like when the deal is said and done, and they've just sold you a $250,000 house, and they're like, thank you, and then you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
They make all the commission.
They make
You
the
can't
huge
remember it,
commission
right?
off you, and you're like, thank you for your patronage, and that's the end of the day. And you're like, I not that you're doing business, myself or anyone else, just to like gain friends, but it's this process. And like I said, if I'm driving the Challenger, at some point in that, I remember the process in which we went through to get it. It's not like a constant thing in my mind,
Right.
but it might come in, and like I want that to be a nice thought, not a God.
The ultimate compliment, and we're really experiencing it in full force right now, is I'll get a call, and it'll be on my private cell phone,
Mhm.
which is really not private, but
Right.
and they'll say, hey, so-and-so bought a car from you 3 years ago.
Right.
Found out I was looking and made sure I called you, and they still had my cell phone.
Yep.
And that's when you just get that glow about you to know, like, wow, that's awesome. They remembered that experience.
Yep.
And here we go again and start it. And, we pay out a referral fee. We want to say thank you to the people that refer us. We pay everyone $300 that refers us. Just all you got to do is say so-and-so wants to buy a car and call them, and we'll take care of you. And we don't really promote that. It's
Right.
not really something we're trying to say, hey, go get us a bunch of clients, please,
Sure.
everybody out there. But we want to say thank you. And we don't advertise. We feel like that's the best advertising is word of mouth and
It
friends
is
and
huge.
referrals. So, if anybody needs an extra 3 bills, we're happy to help with that.
I love an extra 3 bills, so you can put my name as a referral on that if you'd like.
Right.
But that's the cool thing is, it's a little bit of an added incentive, but you want to do it anyways. You're just like, I want to promote, because this day and age, you could promote something, and you see it all day long on Facebook. Even this freaking hoverboard that's going around, it's fake. Everybody, when they're
Right.
showing you, you can see the little white thing they're wearing under them as they're being pulled up. So anyway. Side note, but people promote stuff all the time that they can't really stand behind because they're some offshoot website or whatever. But I can go on there and say, hey, if you need a car and maybe credit's not so good, or you just like a different experience, let me know. I'll have my friend contact you.
Well, here's and we don't promote the 300. I mentioned it so people on your
Sure,
show
sure.
would know it. We don't even talk about it on our Facebook page. That's
Right.
just an extra incentive that we do, and it's a nice thing. But here's the ultimate. I'll tell you right now what we're doing, and I wanted to share this with everyone is we have a unique environment in Las Vegas. It's truly unique to everyone in the world, and that's the way our industry people get paid.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's a server, an
true.
entertainer, bottle popper, right? They got all these new names for
Yeah,
them now.
bottle popper, I like that
bottle
one.
poppers,
Mhm.
and they receive cash.
Right.
And they can't prove their income.
Right.
And so we have such a unique way. And when you're a dealer and you're trying to talk to Wells Fargo, the bank,
true.
and Wells Fargo's over there and they've got a credit analyst that's making $15 an hour, and he's trying to understand how this young lady's making $6,000 to $8,000 a month, but she's only got a pay stub that says 300 year to date.
You're 23 years old and
you make
you're-
$7,000 a month. How is
$7,000
that
a month. How do you
possible?
do that? And
Yeah.
and you're like, I live in Las Vegas, and it should be that. Oh,
Yeah, but
it's
they
not.
don't.
It's not.
So I just want everybody to know that we're very industry friendly.
Yep.
We understand how the industry works. We know how to present it to the bank, and that's a big part of the challenge that a lot of dealers have in dealing with the industry.
Right.
So anybody that's in that type of industry that's looking for a little extra help, whether they have good credit or bad credit. I actually have a friend that she's in the industry. She has good credit,
Right.
and got turned down because she couldn't prove her income.
Right.
And she's just like, I have good credit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
get
what's the
over-
point of having
get
good credit?
over here.
Right.
Yeah. So we know how to take care of that and present that as well. So that's a unique challenge we face in Las Vegas, but no problem.
And it's true. I will see posts that you put up all the time and go, I know that person. I know that person. That
Yep.
person. And they have, it might be a Hummer, it might be a Mercedes, it might be a little Mini Cooper. It's just, your friends or my friends are using the service too, and it just kind of gives that extra little.
Yeah.
Yep, that was a good way to go. But you bring up a great point. This town is really built on the tip industry.
Yes, it is.
You could work in a nightclub, you could be a cab driver, you could just work in a restaurant, and it's hard to get anything done. You're like, I bring in all this money, but most of it's tips. So they're like, the mindset is, well, you should be claiming all of that on the quarterly taxes, and you're like, really? That's
Listen,
happening.
I'm
huh?
not the IRS.
No, you're not.
So
You're not.
I don't care what you do with your
Right,
money.
exactly. So, but now you're in a situation where you do need to.
Yeah.
You need to have something that shows off how hard you work, and
Right.
just because you can't show where your income's coming from, you don't necessarily want to be in a Hyundai whatever.
And great point. We want to be proud of what we drive.
Right.
I mean, I know you love your Challenger, and I would have never thought when I started this business 5 years ago that it would have evolved into the highline industry that we're in now.
Right.
And I mean, the other day I took in trade an Aston Martin, took in trade a Bentley the other day. We're selling Mercedes. I'll be delivering tomorrow. I'm flying into LA to Beverly Hills to deliver a Porsche 2014 Porsche Panamera
Wow.
to a lady that I've never met.
Uh-huh.
She was a referral of someone that works here in Vegas. She has a Bentley that she wants to trade in. And it was literally a couple phone calls, a couple emails. I sent her the picture. She says, that's what I want.
Right.
I bought it for her. I'm going to fly down and deliver it to her. So I never would have
Awesome.
thought we would have been delivering Bentleys, Mercedes. We've delivered Maybachs, Bentleys, Mercedes, Aston Martins, Escalades. I mean, I never would have thought it'd be like that. But what people don't know is I can make those cars happen
Right.
with the right loan.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I even just inquired for idea, I guess, and you're like, yeah, I could talk to this person, talk to that person, and
Yeah.
get stuff done. So it's not this, it's not maybe a mindset that people might be saying is that okay, so you're not a dealership, you're a broker. You might have lemons, you might have these just offshoot cars that nobody wants. No, you get pretty much anything that somebody wants. So it's like you just you write your order in the sky and then you're like make it happen. You're like here you go and you're like wow, that was it's it's an hour of edifying Robert here and Speedy Carlins, but it's not out of anything but I want everybody to know how this experience is and why they need to go this route. And again, we're not saying anything really bad about car dealerships because they serve a purpose, but if that's not your thing and you just stay in your car because you're like I don't want to go do that process, so I guess I'm stuck, and it's not necessarily the case. You can go get something that you want and you enjoy driving.
Hey Jeremy, here's an interesting story. A young lady I sold a car to maybe 2-3 years ago, and she's a friend, and we've become closer friends as I sold her a car.
Sure.
Called me and asked a question. She says, hey, I still owe a little bit of money on the car that you sold me. Is that going to hurt me when I want to buy a new one?
Right.
And what you find out is people are really uneducated, not stupid to the fact, but uneducated to how the car business really works.
I think that's done on purpose too.
And well, I agree with that.
Sure.
And here's a major investment we make. I mean, obviously, this maybe the second largest we're ever going to make other than a house, but we do it more often than a house. I mean, the average American buys a car every 3 years, roughly.
Right.
So here's a process that we should become educated on, but we don't. Well, you go to a dealership. Believe it or not, your salesman's no more educated than you are on how it works. The sales manager's not educated on the finance process. And what I hope to give people is when they come to me is I want to educate them so that they understand what they're doing. So we actually are going to gag you with information and knowledge. I mean, we really are. We're going to send you the information. We're going to say, and here's the Carfax, and here's the auto check, and here's the Kelley Blue Book, and here's your trade value, and here's why it's your trade value, and here's what's right with the car, and here's what's wrong. And we want you to have all this knowledge, and here's why your rate's this way, and here's how you could get your rate that way, and here's, you have 1,000 down, you told me, but if you put 1,500, you'd get a 80% loan to value, so there would be your rate. And we're going to shove all this at you. So when you leave, not only did you buy a car, you left educated.
You left educated. Yeah. You were given all of the tools to make the best decision for yourself, not the best decision for someone selling you the car. Exactly. And so you're not going into it blind. You have all this stuff, and some might go, God, why are you giving me all this stuff? And you're like, listen, because we want you to know exactly. It's not, okay, walk on the lot and go, yeah, that's the one, and then, okay, wait and we'll figure it out if you can qualify for it or not. And that's what I think it's great about this kind of thing.
One more huge point.
Of course.
We have created a need since the recession
that
never existed.
Right.
And I didn't even know it was going to be a need when I started the company, but I want to make people aware of this. Had a lot of people that went and leased cars. Oops, their credit went bad. They lost a home. They short sold it. They get ready to turn in their lease and they want to get another one, and all of a sudden the Mercedes dealer, the Honda dealer says, oh, you don't qualify anymore.
Right.
And now you're giving your car back. You don't have a car.
Right.
So we've actually started, one of the things that we can do that a dealer cannot do is with some of our licensing is we can do refinancing, and we can help you refinance your lease, and we can help you refinance the current car you're in. If you got into a loan a couple of years ago and the rate's too high, we can help you refinance your car. So that's all the services we also provide. And we didn't even know we were going to provide them when we started.
Right.
But so many people would call us and say, hey, I don't have a car.
Sure.
I'm turning my lease in. They said I can't buy my lease out.
Right.
I can't get a new one.
So you're stuck.
I'm going to be walking in 4 days here. And we've helped a lot of people buy out their leases, get a new lease, or get a different car altogether. So that's something that we've been doing a lot of lately.
You just really do cover the gamut. You from beginning to end. Then that's the way a customer experience should be. From the moment you contact a business to the end, it should be that you enjoy the entire experience from beginning to end, because you're paying to have that service done for you.
Right. Absolutely. So it's been fun.
Right.
It's actually been, I post regularly on my Facebook. It's Monday. Woohoo! My favorite day. Let's make some dreams come true. And I get up every morning. It's not a job. I own the company, but at the same time, I love it.
Right.
I go in, I get to meet so many new fun people. They're coming to me with a need, and I get to meet their need, and everybody's happy.
Right.
And I mean, what a more amazing thing can you do than that?
It's the antithesis of what you were doing before when you had Dodgeland USA, and maybe you went in there and just like, Monday. But now you're like, yes,
Dreaded Monday.
Monday, you know, and it makes it that much better. Like you said, it's not just because you own the company, but it's because you're really helping people's lives change. I mean, as sappy as that might sound, it did for me. You know, when I wrote that basic testimonial, I hadn't had a new car since that Oldsmobile Bravada. Basically, I mean, I had that. I can say I had that Trans Am, but it was only for a short time
Right.
until someone T-boned me, some old guy. But you know, it was a nice, comforting feeling to go, hey, you know. Then say 2001. So then it was 8-9 years before I had something new, and that was. You felt accomplished.
And in Las Vegas, we pull into the valet a lot.
Yeah.
And it's nice to either be able to say, leave that one up front,
Yeah.
or feel good to pull into valet. You know, it really is.
I will say that this vehicle, the Dodge Challenger, is the only one that I've ever owned that I will have from various age groups, from young to old, just start talking to me at the gas station about how much they love the car
Good
and
old
all
American
that.
muscle, huh?
And they're like, I said I wouldn't get this kind of a car until it was technologically how I wanted it on the inside, but looked on the outside old school, and that's what I got. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's been great having you on. I mean,
Jeremy, thank you.
Not a problem. I wanted to make sure that I get him as much you know, promotion as possible, and he doesn't do his own, so I take it on myself.
And you always have.
Yeah, I
You always have. Always been plugging for us. I appreciate
like I said,
that.
I had 3 people do it with you, and if the other ones they couldn't, it was just various things in their life that made it so. It wasn't anything.
And we're
to do
not going to
with
sell
you.
100% of everybody, but
Right.
we're going to make everybody feel good whether they buy or not. That's for sure.
And that's the good thing. You can always contact him later. So
Yeah, and if anybody ever has a question, one of the things I want to tell people is they can feel free to call if they have a question. I don't care if you buy at a dealer. I don't care if you're going somewhere else. If you need some help, call us.
Yeah,
you
that
need
is
some
the-
help,
that is the
call
other
us.
thing.
We want to make sure we help everybody.
he's done that several times, help people even if they didn't buy from him. So
Yeah.
thanks guys for hanging out today. It is the Jeremy Womack Show. Go to the jeremywomackshow.com. You can see Robert's profile page. Later on you can see the archive of the show if you've missed any of it, and go to speedycarloans.com. You can use me as a referral. There you go. Thanks guys for hanging out again, Robert.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And
Appreciate it a
maybe we'll
lot.
have you again on the future.
Love
I
it.
don't know.
Bring
Sounds
us
good.
back.
All right, thanks George. Guys, have a great day. alltalkradio.net. Bye.